Now, it is no secret that video editing is a super valuable skill set in today's day and age. Now, I started out over 5 years ago as a freelance video editor, then I built an editing agency, and then I built other online businesses as well. And all of these things had something to do with editing and creating engaging content. And throughout the last few years, I've been fortunate enough to make hundreds of thousands of dollars thanks to this skill set. So I know how amazing it is and how important it is to learn it, but I also know at the same time how difficult and frustrating it can be to get started with this and to get to a level where you can actually make money from it, especially if you're starting out from scratch. So my main goal with this video is to hopefully make your journey of learning video editing from scratch a lot easier by simply avoiding some of the most common pitfalls and mistakes that most editors make, including myself in the past. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So the first mistake is being a perfectionist. Now, I know how tempting it can be to just want to work on one video endlessly and perfect it until it becomes this masterpiece, but the truth is that this will actually not make you the best editor that you could be. There's actually been a study done on 2 groups of people that they took, right, who were both trying to make clay pots. Now, one of the group's task was to make as many clay pots as humanly possible in that 7-day period while the study was conducted, and the other group's task was to just make one perfect clay pot, and they had all the time in the world to perfect it as much as they needed, right? Now, funny enough, the result was that the group who had the task to make as many clay pots as possible in that time period actually ended up making better clay pots by the end of it, simply because of the fact that they went through the entire process just way more times, and instead of trying to perfect one, they just made a new one, a new one, a new one, and a new one. And by going through this journey over and over again, they actually became better at the actual skill of making clay pots, and theirs looked way better than the one group that was just trying to perfect one the entire time. Now, what's my point with this? Well, my point is that if you want to become a better editor as quickly as possible, instead of trying to work on just 1 or 2 videos a month, try to make multiple every single week and go through the process of editing a video from scratch to finish as many times as possible, because that will make you better way faster. Mistake number 2 is not having a clear vision of exactly what you are trying to learn. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, there's so many directions that you can go in as a video editor and so many types of content you could make, right? To start with, you could either go in the direction of short form content or long form content. Within even long form content, you can start making documentary videos, you can start making vlogs, you can start making sit down style videos just like this one. So many directions, right? And the thing is, it's very tempting to just want to learn everything in the beginning, but it's also one of the slowest ways to actually progress. Within my programs, I've seen some guys go from absolutely zero to becoming an amazing editor in less than 3 months, simply because they focused in on just learning one type of editing and they just obsessed over that, right? So if your main objective is to just make this process of becoming a good editor easier on you and also faster, one of the best things that you can do is just choose one type of video that you want to start with and choose one style of video that you are trying to learn, and then just go all in on that. And once you have learned that, then you can obviously go and extend your skill set even further and learn other styles of editing and other types of videos. But if you just start there, it will make your job way easier. Now, the third mistake is overwhelming yourself by trying to learn the most advanced techniques without learning the fundamentals first. Most editors, when they come into the game, they see the really cool animations on their favorite YouTubers' videos and they are like, oh wow, I want to learn that. That's where I need to be, right? And that's a good aspiration to have, but until you have mastered the basics of editing, like pacing your videos, creating the atmosphere, and actually conveying the message and getting it across in a really efficient way to the viewer, then you shouldn't be worrying about all these little After Effects, tricks and tips and details yet, because you don't even know how to make a basic video really well. So first, focus on the fundamentals, learn how to do the basics well, and only then worry about learning the more advanced techniques. Now, the fourth mistake is frustrating yourself with not having the right settings for your software or with your computer specs. Now, I know how absolutely infuriating it can be when your computer isn't good enough to run the editing software that you are trying to use, and it's constantly just freezing or lagging, or the exporting takes so long. And I know how it is, right? And sometimes the actual solution for that is to get get better specs for your computer and, just save up money for that. So, unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. Sometimes you do need to invest a bit more into it to have that smooth editing experience, but also oftentimes by using things like proxies or just using the right settings when it comes to the actual software that you are using, which work best with your computer specs, you can still speed up your workflow a lot. So before you would go and try to buy the most expensive computer that you can, go into your settings, do some more research on Google and figure out what would be the best and most ideal settings within your editing software to work with your computer. Try out proxies maybe if you can to make your workflow just more smooth, because I can tell you that a lot of people quit editing and learning it simply because they get too frustrated with a laggy software or whatever it is. Now, the next thing I see a lot of people struggle with is imposter syndrome, right? Feeling like they are not that good of an editor to take on this more large scale project, or they are not that good to start making their own YouTube videos. They are just trying to wait until they become a little bit better. And the thing is, the market is the most fair and truest form of judgment, right? So it doesn't really matter whether you feel like you are the best editor or if you feel like absolutely, crap. It doesn't matter. What matters is what people think of it, right? So even when it comes to putting out your own YouTube videos, let's say if you want to build a brand, then just make something, put it out there and let people be the judge of it, right? I first started out making videos and people were telling me that it's crap, and I just tried to improve on it, right? And then after that, I got to a point where I still felt like my videos weren't that good, but I was posting it and maybe 8 out of 10 people liked it. So I think overall that's good enough. And as long as most people enjoy the content that you have to put out, you should keep going with it. Now, the sixth mistake I see people making is trying to be a lone wolf and going at it alone. It's much easier to learn this new skill set and just get started on this entire journey if you have an actual community of like-minded people around you that you can ask questions from and get help from and just feel like you are doing something together with other people. So I would highly suggest you to try to join. If you cannot afford paid communities, just go for a free one, like some free Discord groups or whatever it is. If you have some money to invest into yourself, then go ahead and join an amazing paid community. Now, I am biased because I do have one which is called videoeditors.io, where you can learn everything about editing, even making money with editing and learning how to actually grow a business on social media. But with that aside, even if it's someone else's community, I would highly recommend you to do it, because any money that you invest into yourself and your own skill sets is going to be multiplied over and over again in the future, because I think skills are some of the most valuable things that you can buy and that you can acquire for yourself. And the seventh mistake kind of goes hand in hand together with the previous point, which is not getting feedback on your work. If you're not getting feedback on your work, you are going to be progressing a lot slower, because pretty much the way you learn, right, is by making something, getting feedback on it, and then getting feedback on how you can make it better. And then the next time you make something, you will implement that feedback which you got on your previous work, right? So the faster this cycle is and the more feedback you can get from people who are already where you want to be, the quicker you're going to learn, and also the less frustrating this entire process is going to be. Because the reason why people find learning a skill like video editing hard is because of the fact that they don't have full clarity, right? The reason why you feel frustrated or anxious about it is because you don't know exactly what you should be doing next to actually make your edits or your videos better, right? So if you have a community, let's say, or you have a mentor who's actually helping you out at every step of the way and reviewing your videos meticulously and giving you feedback on how it could be made better, well, that's going to basically just get rid of the confusion in your head, and you will have clear, actionable steps on how you could take your videos and skills to the next level. Now, mistake number 8 is trying to be unique from the start. Now, I know I'm going to get maybe a little bit of hate for this, but I don't think that to be a good editor, you actually need to be completely unique from the get-go. In fact, it's very rare that someone has like such a advanced taste that from the beginning they can create something that's completely unique. In my opinion, the fastest way to be able to actually create your own editing style and have something great is by just first copying what other people are doing, taking little elements from other people's videos and learning how to recreate it, and then doing that across a lot of different creators so that you can build up this little arsenal or this inventory of different skill sets that you have learned along the way. And then you are going to be able to then combine those things together, right? And then create something something which is unique to you. So there is an amazing book around this subject, which is called Steal Like an Artist. So I can highly recommend you to go ahead and read that one, and it will tell you how to do this process just in an amazing way. Now, the ninth mistake I see people making is not learning storytelling at all. If you actually boil it down to its core, the purpose of video editing is not necessarily to just make these amazing looking effects and, you know, all this fancy stuff. The purpose of it is to get the story or the point across in a more efficient way to the viewer than if there was no editing, right? Than if it was a raw file, and make it more engaging, make it easier to consume. So a lot of editors get just wrapped up in this idea of thinking like, oh, if I just learned that style or if I just learned that effect, then my videos are going to be amazing. And they completely overlook learning things like how to pace your videos better, how to use sound effects or just sound design and music to your advantage to convey exactly the type of emotions that you are trying to convey. So I would highly encourage you to also look into those kind of subjects and learn those things just as much, especially in the beginning, as the little tricks and tips. Now, the 10th and final mistake I see a lot of people do, and I've made this myself as well, is that you don't stick with one style or type of video, and you quit, you know, wanting to learn that style earlier than you could actually become good at it. So this is something that I think makes the process of learning editing really hard for a lot of people as well. The fact that they get started wanting to learn one type of edit, and then by the time they would get actually good at it, they got already bored of it, and then they are trying to learn something else. And the same thing with softwares as well. A lot of people jump from software to software to software, you know, from style to style before they could actually become great at it. So what they're doing is they're just building these half-built bridges which don't really lead anywhere, right? So what you want to do instead is just try to stick with whatever, you know, type of video that you want to become good at for as long as it's needed to actually get to that point where people will look at you and be like, wow, that's amazing, right? So the difference between you and those editors who actually got to that point where you aspire to be is that they actually stuck with it for long enough and they stayed consistent with just like mastering their style for long enough that now they are seen as, you know, someone that's amazing. So I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some value from it. I hope I will be able to make your process of learning this new skill just a little bit easier. If you want to learn more from me personally, I would highly recommend you to check out the first link in the description below where you can join our inner circle community. But if you just want to learn more for free, that's completely fine as well. There is going to be plenty of more videos coming out on this channel just for you as well. So make sure to subscribe, and thank you for your attention and thank you for watching until this point, and I will see you in the next one.